I mightn't record this. Ganny.com coming through. I was just watching a video, right, and what they did to the truth of this thing. Right, you've heard of him. Narcissists, right? I mean, whether it be, regardless of gender, males and females, right? What a distortion of the original. Now, you might remember when you were in infant school and other things, right, or nursery, and daffodil prints, right? Yellow hair, right, like the flower daffodil, narcissist, right? Narcissisms, right, however described, right? Now, the story you originally got told, right, because I've got memory, I've got a little bit, right, and it was about a prince, right, called narcissism, right, which it's an A to Z word for daffodil, and the meaning, right, of daffodil, you might know this, is self-love. You know what daffodils, like springtime and that in the rose, right? Anyways, about that, right, as I'm puffing on me cigarette, right? Anyways, so the story we got told in I think it was the nursery originally, right? And was looking at his reflection, right, in a puddle, right? And the two ugly whatevers, two females, right, were right, and what he's doing here? I want to be on my own, right, my me time, right? Anyway, was catching his reflection, right, in the pond, and fell in and drowned, right? And we were like, anyway, a few years later, right, I think I was in the infant still, but I think it was Morma somewhere, right, after Marine Park, right, and there was a female teacher telling the same story, but there was slight alteration of it, right. It was these words, right, and it was written all over her face, and how she said it, right, and fell in love with himself, right. So then the liquid pond had become love, and as if it was a bad thing, right, to love herself, and fell in love with himself. But somehow through, and I knew exactly where it was at, right, because the words of the grown-ups, he pose having that, right, with his white shirt and all done up for the weekend, know what I mean, right, Headworth Halls, well, that's a divorcee club thing locally, years ago, Yellow Welly, right. So anyway, the other teacher, right, had a formed attachment. So when talking and speaking of daffodil prince, right, narcissist, right, yeah, and fell in love with himself, as if love was a bad thing, right, and all of these things, right. But I was like, so there's males, right, and they're like poor sides, right, and they just get on the nipple ends and the sides and the booby up sides, right. Anyways, right, mega years later, right, in my early 20s, I'm doing reading, book reading, not the lit screens, and I found the truth about, right, yes, he was a prince of Transylvania, right, and not a train wreck. Daffodil, the daffodil prince, the narcissist, right, and an awful story, right, and it's there to be found. Right, his 8-kid dad was on the deathbed, right, what was that again, anyways, right, was in ill health, and they're making preparations, right, aristocracy, right, for when his 8-kid dad passed, that, well, yes, he would get the crown and be king, right. This is Transylvania, right, of the 1700s, right, moving along too. I know Transylvania makes us think of transvestites and Count Dracula and things, and Dracula-ish. Yeah, it's still kind of that, right. I've never been to Transylvania, right, but anyways, as I said, right, so narcissist, right, narcissism, right, which is, and they'll go, it's Greek, it's A to Z, right, it's an alternative word for daffodils, which are fleurs in French, right, and the meaning is self-love. Anyway, of this absolutely awful blooming straight, right, yes, and, they didn't want him to become king, right, because his face didn't fit, you know, the type, you know, it's not like us, everybody wants to be like us, right, that's a bit of devil wears Prada thing, you know what I mean, right, and a very secular, a closed circle society, right, and would ruffle the feathers and other things if he was to become king. Now, they tried every dirty trick in the book they could. First, right, 2 medical students, right, of those years, right, like normal medical students, not the fakir deceivers of psychiatry, right. Now listen to this, right. The 2 males, right, would come in and visit them suited and booted, you know what I mean, like freshmen or whatever's, right, straight out of uni, right, and they were like, yes, because, you know, that the monies and other things they wouldn't get, they have arrangements, you know, and they don't want it all upside down and things, and they're cast out like baldricks kind of thing. We get monies and things. Exactly, right. Highty-tighty, Transylvanian aristocracy. What is this? It's a bit of muck on the screen. I'll just take it off, right. Right, anyways, today's Monday the 17th of August. Anyway, so the medical students came back, right, they were put up to it, right, and they couldn't find nothing wrong with Daffodil Prince, right. No, he's fine, like, you know, things like this, right, and, oh, that's not what they wanted. They wanted in some way to kind of DE, yes, that he was kind of, there was something wrong with him, right, and not fit, right. This is even before, right, the passing of Ezekiel had him that, right, and they didn't want him to be king, right, Daffodil Prince, Narcissus. Anyway, so they sent him back after lots of, well, you know, yes, and all of those words things. So these two males, right, went back, and now this is important, right. So at some do or something, right, highty-tighty do and get really get, not my kind of mug of tea either, right, a formal do, right, with certain types of clothes, right, and he was called out. He was accused of megalomania. Megalomania. Something they'd made up. Due to peer pressure, right? These two freshmen out of like medical schools. And remember first, there's nothing wrong with them. You know what I mean? But then laid on thick, right? Put the fear of whatever's into these two males. And they came up with something, right? And out of doing that, he was accused of being a megalomaniac. Yes, they made it up, right? Merely accused. Now, through time, what they've done with that, right? They've distorted everything. Psychiatry, mental services. Oh, really boiled my bleep, 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 right? Now what we've got, right, is, now listen, anything of word behaviour is of a human template, colonialist, right? Humanoids. Well, I'm an earthling, right? Anyways, what they've done with the narcissistic, right? Narcissistic behaviour, right, and they've got a drop down list of types of narcissistic behaviour, right, but you're not going to have none of this without words and sentences, is it? You know how you talk these things of such. Anyways, right, well, that's what they've done, right. Now Daffodil Prince, called narcissism, right, was merely accused of megalomania, and what ended up happening anyway, right, his AK uncle took over the phone. I don't know what the fate was of Daffodil Prince, right? But drowned, yes, I drowned at the leisure centre, but was rescued, right? But I had orange hair to start with when I was younger, then it went to darkest black, and now I've got the greys, right? And I think I've got a receding hairline like Slaphead. But anyways, that was what, right? Now they've got all of this narcissistic typals, right, behaviour, and a whole load of armoury pharmaceutical company drugs. It's just, and I was reading, right, yes, thems, formerly known as megalomania, narcissistic behaviour, yes, psychiatry liars, absolute liars, right, there's no organic mind as part of organic brain matter, you've got no mind in head, there's no mind bit, which is snapped and fucked, and you need management of abuse, absolutely make you ill drugs, but they go, medication, right. So anyway, the fate of Daffodil Prince, and I've just thought I'd say that. Yes, of all the behaviour, right, narcissistic behaviour, and loads of typal drop-downs of types, right. And did you know, right, personality, that word, is from persona, which is dependent on how we talk. Yes, there'd be no persona, there'd be no personality without words and sentences. I thought I just, yes, they're fully armed with chemical weaponry with this narcissistic behaviour, right, and loads of typos and descriptions and hues and colours and vectors and angles of it, of a whole load of